The warmth of the sun on your skin, those long, light-filled evenings, the crickets singing at night. Ah, summer. It's the season that whispers promises of freedom, adventure, and getting away from it all. We chase these golden moments, hoping to escape the everyday with sunny days and fun get-togethers. But what happens when that golden light casts long, creepy shadows? What happens when the soundtrack of summer gets interrupted by a scream of pure terror? Tonight, we're not talking about made-up monsters or campfire stories meant for a quick scare. We're diving into the unsettling truth that sometimes the most terrifying things happen right when we're trying to relax in the sun. These are 3 true stories from regular folks just like us, whose summer dreams turned into nightmares that stuck around long after the season ended. So get ready, because the darkness we're about to explore doesn't always wait for nightfall. Our first story takes us deep into the woods. A group of friends was just hoping for some good times in quiet nature. What they found was something totally different. Section 1. Camping Nightmare. The night stalker in the woods. There's something about the wilderness, isn't there? Especially in summer. For a close group of friends, let's call them Mark, Sarah, Chloe, and Ben, their yearly camping trip was a must-do. This year they picked a spot deep in a state forest, known for amazing views and a silence so deep you could hear your own heart beat. They weren't new to camping. They knew their way around the woods. They knew what to bring, how to respect nature, and loved the simple things: a crackling campfire, roasted marshmallows, and laughing under the stars. The first day and night? Perfect. Just what they'd hoped for. They set up their 2 sturdy tents, a comfortable distance apart, but close enough to feel secure. The air was fresh, smelling of pine and damp earth. The campfire blazed merrily, keeping the evening chill. Away as they shared stories, their faces lit by the dancing flames. The stress of work and city life just melted away. This was their escape, their recharge. As the embers died down, they doused the fire thoroughly, something they never skipped, and went to their tents, lulled by the gentle sounds of the forest around them. A cool breeze whispered through the trees, and a distant owl hoot was the only thing breaking the perfect quiet. Sleep came easily. The second night started much the same. After another day of hiking, checking out a stream, and just enjoying being together, they were pleasantly tired. The campfire stories were a bit quieter that night, more comfortable silences between them. As they zipped up their tents, a deep sense of peace settled over the camp. The stars, with no city lights to hide them, seemed impossibly bright, like scattered diamonds on black velvet. Mark and Sarah were in one tent, Chloe and Ben in the other. For an hour or so, the only sounds were leaves rustling and the wind sighing. Then it began, a voice, faint at first, carried on the night air. Hard to tell where it was coming from, seemed like the deep, dark woods near their clearing. Mark, a light sleeper, was the first to stir. He lay still, listening hard, trying to figure out if he'd imagined it. But there it was again, a little clearer this time. It sounded like a woman, her voice kind of thin and weak, calling out, "Help me." It seemed to say, then maybe a sob. He nudged Sarah awake. "Do you hear that?" he whispered, his voice barely there. Sarah, still half asleep, listened. Her eyes widened. "Is that someone yelling for help?" "In the other tent, Chloe." and Ben heard it too. All four were wide awake now, tension filling the tents. The calls kept coming. Help me. I'm lost. Please. The voice seemed to be getting closer, each call a little louder, a little more desperate. A debate started in hushed whispers between the tents. Was it a lost hiker? Someone who'd wandered off trail when it got dark? That part of you that wants to help, that instinct, told them to check it out. We should check it out, Ben said, his voice full of concern. What if someone's really hurt out there? Chloe, though, felt a prickle of unease she couldn't shake. I don't know, Ben. Something feels off. It's so late, and this deep in the woods. Mark, too, was hesitant. It's weird, he mumbled. How it's moving. Closer, yeah, but almost like it knows what it's doing. The voice kept up its sad cries, definitely closer to their campsite now. But there was something unsettling about the voice. It sounded like a woman in distress, sure, but there was something else underneath, something that didn't quite match. It was like someone trying to sound like an old woman in trouble. And that thought, once it hit them, was really disturbing. Hello? Mark finally called out, his voice firm but cautious. Are you okay? Who's there? Silence. The calls for help stopped, just like that. The only sound was the sudden, almost deafening thumping of their own hearts. The forest seemed to be holding its breath. Then the voice returned, but it had changed. It wasn't distant anymore. It was right outside Mark and Sarah's tent, and the womanly quality was gone, replaced by a guttural, masculine tone, a cruel copy of the earlier pleas. Let me in, it rasped, low and menacing. I know you're in. There, panic, cold and sharp, shot through them. This was no lost hiker. This was something predatory. Their tents, which felt like shelter just moments ago, now seemed like paper-thin protection against a real threat. Suddenly, Mark and Sarah's tent was violently shaken. Not by wind, not by an animal, but by a deliberate, aggressive force. The poles groaned, the fabric rippled. Sarah screamed, a raw sound of terror. Mark yelled, "Get away from us! Leave us alone!" The shaking stopped as suddenly as it began. Heavy footsteps crunched on leaves and twigs just outside their tent, then moved towards Chloe and Ben's tent. "We know you're in there, little birds." The voice, now a sickening sing-song, taunted from outside Chloe and Ben's tent. Then their tent, too, was rocked with savage intensity. Chloe and Ben held on to each other, frozen, sure the tent would rip, and whatever was out there would burst. The mental game was awful. Feeling trapped, at the mercy of something unseen and evil, was just overwhelming. "We have a phone. We're calling the police." Ben managed to shout, his voice trembling but loud. It was a bluff their phones had. Lost service miles back, but it was all he could think to do. Again, the shaking stopped. For a long moment, there was only silence, thick and terrifying. They strained their ears, listening. What was it doing? Was it waiting? Gone? Not knowing was almost as bad as the attack. They could hear what sounded like heavy breathing just outside the tent, a chilling reminder of how close it was. Minutes stretched into an eternity. No one dared to speak, hardly dared to breathe. Every little sound sent new waves of adrenaline through them. They stayed pressed together, 4 souls united in a silent, desperate plea for the night to end. Being stalked like that, their safe spot violated, was deeply traumatizing. The helplessness was intense. They didn't sleep, of course. How could they? They stayed on high alert, jumping at every sound, convinced the intruder was still out there, watching, waiting. The fun, carefree vibe of their trip totally gone, replaced by a raw fear that ate at them. The woods, once peaceful, now felt threatening, full of unseen dangers. When the first hint of dawn finally came, painting the sky in pale grays and blues, a little bit of courage returned with it. The darkness had been terrifying, and the light felt like a rescue. With trembling hands, they slowly, cautiously unzipped their tents. The campsite was a mess. Their coolers had been overturned, supplies scattered. But the intruder was gone. There were large, indistinct footprints in the soft earth around their tents, but no other sign of who or what had terrorized them. Without a word, they packed like mad, desperate to get out of there. Every snap of a twig in the surrounding forest made them jump. No morning chatter, no breakfast plans, no sad goodbyes to the woods. None of that. Just a grim, quiet need to leave. The walk back to the car felt like it took forever. Every shadow a threat, every sound like their tormentor. Coming back, they never really talked about it in detail with anyone else. How do you explain that voice? How it changed from asking for help to threatening them? How could they make anyone understand the terror of having their tent shaken by something unseen, something clearly meaning harm? They later agreed the voice had to be a trick, a cruel way to lure them out or just to scare them for fun. That night left a permanent scar. They never camped there again. For some, camping itself was ruined. The woods now a reminder of that voice and that awful night. The mental toll, anxiety, trouble focusing, feeling unsafe, that stuck around way longer than any footprints at the campsite. Transition 1, that fear of being hunted in the woods, it's ancient. It taps into something deep inside us. But daylight hours can have their own scary surprises. What happens when a relaxing swim to cool off turns into the scene of something brutal? Something that changes your life? Our next story moves from the dark forest to the seemingly calm waters of a river where peace was shattered in a heartbeat. Section 2, Swimming Gone Wrong, the River Tragedy. Summer afternoons, you just want to escape the heat, right? For Liam and his partner, Olivia, a hike then a swim in a cool river sounded perfect on a scorching day. They loved hiking, always looking for new trails with great views and a bit of quiet. This trail wasn't super popular. It wound next to a wide river with green banks and wildflowers. The sun beat down, but a gentle breeze rustled the leaves, creating a dappled pattern of light and shadow on the path ahead. After a couple of hours hiking, they found the perfect spot. A small, sandy clearing sloped gently down to the water's edge. The river was wide here, looked pretty calm, sparkling in the sun. Trees on the opposite bank provided a picturesque backdrop, their reflections shimmering in the slow-moving current. It was postcard perfect, pure summer paradise. They spread out their blanket, had some lunch, and just enjoyed the peace and quiet. The only sounds were the gentle lapping of water against the shore, the buzz of insects, and the distant chirping of birds. After eating, the heat was really getting to them, and that cool water looked too good to resist. They changed into their swimsuits, chatting happily, excited to cool off. Olivia waded in first, gasping playfully as the cooler water enveloped her. Liam followed, and soon they were leisurely swimming, enjoying the buoyancy and the escape from the oppressive humidity. They stayed pretty close to where they got in, just floating and talking, pointing out rocks or dragonflies. For a good half hour, it was just pure summer happiness. The world felt calm, worries far away. They were just about to swim back to their blanket when suddenly everything changed. From across the river, they heard voices. Not calm, chatting voices, but agitated, frantic ones. Liam and Olivia stopped, swimming, treading water, looking across the river to see what was going on. The sounds were muffled, but they could hear angry tones. Then what sounded like a scared shout. A little feeling of unease started to creep in, like a sudden chill. "What do you think that is?" Olivia asked, her brow furrowed with concern. Liam shook his head. "Not sure. Sounds like an argument?" He tried to sound calm, but he was getting nervous too. The perfect peace of their swimming spot started to feel shaky, threatened by whatever was happening. Suddenly, the bushes on the other bank, right across from them, shook hard. A man burst out, stumbling, looking desperate. His clothes were torn, his face twisted in terror. He didn't seem to see Liam and Olivia. He was staring at something behind him in the bushes he'd just come out of. He scrambled down the bank and jumped into the river, moving clumsily, panicking. He clearly wasn't a good swimmer. He was thrashing around, trying to get away from the bank. Liam and Olivia watched, frozen, a mix of shock and horror washing over them. This wasn't normal. This was something terribly wrong. The man was flailing, not getting far. He tripped or caught his foot on something and went under for a second, then came up sputtering, his eyes wide with a terrifying fear. And then he screamed, a raw, desperate sound. "No! Please, no!" His voice was ragged, full of pain, before Liam or Olivia could even think what to do or say. 3 sharp cracks echoed across the water. Gunshots, no doubt about it. Each one felt like a punch. They saw the man jolt. A red stain appeared on his chest, spreading quickly on his wet shirt. His body went limp. His struggles stopped. He fell forward, his face hitting the water with a sick splash. He floated for a moment, lifeless. Then the current started to pull him downstream. Dead. Murdered right in front of them. Everything seemed to stop. The bird sounds, the insects, the water, all gone, replaced by a roaring in their ears and their own hearts pounding. They were witnesses, accidental witnesses to a brutal murder. The shooter, or shooters, were still over there, hidden by the trees. And Liam and Olivia were right out in the open, in the middle of the river. That survival instinct kicked in hard. Without a word, they turned and swam for their lives back to their spot on the bank. Every splash, every breath, felt incredibly loud. They kept thinking eyes were watching them, that another shot would ring out, aimed at them this time. The shore, so close before, now felt miles away. Their feet finally hit the bottom, and they scrambled out, shaking like leaves. They didn't stop to dry off, didn't think about their stuff beyond grabbing their keys and phones. Their perfect picnic spot was now a scene of unbelievable horror. The beauty of the place was now horribly contrasted with the violence they'd seen. They ran. Back up the trail, wet feet slipping, lungs burning, fueled by pure terror. Every shadow looked like a threat. Every rustling leaf sounded like someone chasing them. They didn't look back. That image of the man, his last plea, the gunshots, burned into their memories. They didn't stop until they got to their car, fumbling with keys, hands slick with river water and sweat. They jumped in, locked the doors, and sped off, leaving that peaceful river and its awful secret behind. The drive back was a blur. Call the police? From where? What could they say? Who were those people? Why was he killed? So many questions, no answers, just more fear. Once they were far away, in a town with cops, they pulled over, and voices trembling, reported what they saw. The police took their statements, looking grim. They said an investigation would start. But for Liam and Olivia, it didn't end there. They were deeply shaken. The memory became a recurring nightmare, haunting them day and night. A simple swim, peaceful nature, now forever tainted by that day. They became jumpy, always looking over their shoulders. Their sense of safety was gone. The world, which felt so normal just hours before, now felt random and dangerous. A beautiful summer day, a peaceful river became the scene of brutal violence. A scary reminder that darkness can pop up anywhere, even during innocent summer fun, and you can see things you'll never forget. Feeling so helpless, watching him die, and not being able to do anything, was a heavy weight. That river, once so beautiful, became a reminder of the day their summer was stolen by a look into true horror. Transition to sudden violence in a peaceful place. It really shatters your sense of security. From the river to the open road, summer adventures can take some really unsettling turns. Our last story tonight is about a group of friends on a classic summer road trip. Their relaxing weekend at a familiar beach house turned terrifying when the night showed them they weren't alone or safe. Section 3. Road Trip Terror. The isolated beach house. A summer road trip to a beach house. Classic good times, right? So many friends do it to escape and catch some sun. For Maya, a different Liam, Chloe, and Noah, the yearly trip to Liam's family beach house was the best part of summer. The house wasn't fancy, but it was comfy, full of old memories, and theirs for the weekend. It was a bit back from the main tourist area, so it was more private, tucked in some dunes with a path to a quieter part of the beach. They piled into Liam's old but trusty SUV on a Friday afternoon, car stuffed with bags, way too many snacks, and a summer playlist ready to go. The mood was light, everyone excited for sun, sand, and laughs. The drive was easy fun with old friends, windows down, singing badly to the radio, city disappearing behind them as the coast got closer. They got there as the sun was starting to set, painting the sky orange and pink. The familiar scent of salt and sea air greeted them, instantly relaxing. The beach house, with its worn shingles and creaky porch, felt like an old friend. They unpacked quick, picked rooms, and then, like always, headed to the beach for the sunset. The vast expanse of the ocean, the rhythmic crash of the waves, the feeling of sand between their toes, it was the perfect start to their getaway. The rest of the evening was nice and relaxed. They grilled burgers on the deck, the smell mixing with the salty air, played cards, told stories, had some drinks, easy laughter all around. The day was just what they wanted. Fun at the arcades, a swim, and now good food and company. They just felt perfectly content, like this was exactly where they should be. As it got close to midnight, feeling good, and wanting to keep the perfect day going, someone, maybe Maya, suggested a late-night beach walk. Everyone was up for it. There's something special about the beach at night, right? Cool sand, huge starry sky, waves sounding louder, more mysterious. The main beach, usually packed, would be empty, giving them that feeling of being all alone with the wonder of it. They grabbed hoodies, one flashlight and their phones, and headed down the path. The moon was just a sliver, so the stars looked incredibly bright. The air was cool and carried the clean, sharp scent of the ocean. When they got to the beach, it was totally empty. The rhythmic sigh and crash of the waves was the dominant sound, a soothing, hypnotic presence. The only lights were distant flickers from houses further down the coast, and the faint glow from the town. For a bit they walked in comfortable silence, just soaking it all in, feeling tiny next to the huge ocean and sky. The flashlight beam cut a small swath of light ahead of them, illuminating shells and driftwood. That peaceful, almost zen mood started to shift a little as they walked further, away from any distant house lights. The darkness felt deeper here, the silence heavier, only broken by their own footsteps and the waves. A tiny bit of unease started to settle in. You know, that little prickle on your neck? The isolation, which felt magical moments ago, now felt a little exposed. Noah saw it first. He stopped suddenly. "Guys, what's that?" he whispered, pointing the flashlight down the beach. Near the water dot in the shaky light, there was a figure, standing perfectly still, a silhouette against the wet sand. Too far to see details, but definitely human, standing weirdly still, facing the dark sea. Something about its posture, being all alone out there at night, was just unnerving. "Probably just someone else out late," Liam said, trying to sound normal, but his voice wasn't quite right. "This late? This far down?" Chloe whispered, her voice tight. "And they're just standing there?" They hesitated, curiosity fighting with a growing fear. Part of them wanted to call out, see who it was, but another part, that gut feeling, was screaming, danger. The figure didn't move, didn't react to their voices or the light. Just stood there like a dark, silent guard. "Let's just get a bit closer," Maya said, her voice a little shaky. "Maybe they need help?" But even as she said it, it sounded wrong. The figure didn't look like it needed help. It looked like it was watching. Waiting, they took a few hesitant steps, flashlight still on the figure. As they got closer, maybe 50 yards away, the figure moved. And not in a, "Oh, hello there," kind of way. It turned, slowly, deliberately, right at them. Still couldn't see its face, but they felt it lock onto them. And then it sprinted. Straight at them, the suddenness, the pure aggression. It shattered any calm they had left. No thinking, no talking, just pure panic. They all gasped, then turned and ran, scrambling back the way they came, hearts pounding. That peaceful night beach, now it was a hunting ground, and they were the prey. Their easy walk turned into a desperate, clumsy sprint in the sand. They could hear footsteps behind them, getting closer. The flashlight was gone, dropped in the panic, so now they were running in the dark, just trying to remember the path. Chloe fell. Liam pulled her up, both of them gasping for breath. Fear was like a living thing, grabbing at their throats, pushing them to run faster. They reached the path to the house. lungs aching, terror giving them a final burst of speed. They didn't dare look back, only thought, get to the house. They burst through the back door, luckily unlocked, slammed it, and fumbled with the locks, hands shaking so bad it took a few tries. They leaned against the door, gasping for air, listening. Silence. Had they lost it? Or was it out there, waiting? Call the police, Maya choked out, her voice hoarse. Liam was already dialing, fumbling with his phone. He told the police what happened, his voice still shaking. While he was on the phone, Noah and Chloe ran around checking windows, drawing curtains, making sure everything was locked. The cozy beach house now felt like a tiny fort under attack. They felt so violated, this place of happy memories now. Scary waiting for the police felt like forever. Every creak of the house, every gust of wind, sounded like the pursuer trying to get in. They huddled in the living room, that fun mood totally gone, replaced by a heavy, anxious silence. When the police finally showed up, their flashing lights felt like rescue. The cops listened, looking serious. They searched the beach and around the house with their big flashlights. They found nothing. No sign of the figure. No footprints except theirs and the cops'. It was like the creepy presence just vanished. The cops were nice, but said without more to go on, they couldn't do much. But then they mentioned something that gave them fresh chills. There had been break-ins, and a prowler reported at other isolated beach houses nearby. Their house, being a bit secluded, was probably a target. That figure on the beach? Maybe scouting, or waiting for a chance. The friends realized with horror how close they'd come to something much worse if they hadn't run, or if the house wasn't locked. They didn't sleep the rest of the night, jumping at every sound. That sprinting figure burned into their heads. Rest of their weekend ruined. The beach, once fun and relaxing, now felt scary. The isolation of the house, once a good thing, now felt like a weak spot. They packed up early the next morning, not sad to leave, but desperate to get away. The drive home was quiet, totally different from when they arrived. That night cast a long shadow over their whole summer. How easily their sense of safety was shattered. That was a hard truth. Late-night beach walks? No way, not anymore. They became more careful, more aware. That carefree summer fun now had a bit of caution mixed in. Even in supposedly safe vacation spots, when you're trying to relax, darkness can be hiding just out of sight, waiting for you to let your guard down. That night, a normal summer road trip turned into road trip terror. A scary reminder that even the prettiest places can hide the worst threats. Overall video outro 3 summers. 3 pretty normal. Trips that should have been all about fun. A camping trip shattered by a deceptive, predatory voice in the deep woods. A peaceful riverside swim turned into the horrifying stage for a brutal murder. A carefree beach weekend that descended into a terrifying chase by an unknown figure in the night. These true stories show us that terror isn't just in our imagination or in horror movies. It can, and does, creep into real life, turning happy moments into scary memories. It highlights a chilling truth. Even when you're surrounded by summer beauty, you still need to be aware. The world's unpredictable, and sometimes the most normal-looking. Places hide unseen dangers. The brightest days can hide the darkest shadows, and a sunny day doesn't mean you're automatically safe. CTA, call to action. These stories show how strong people can be, but they're also a serious warning. We're sharing these not to scare you off from enjoying summer, but to remind you to stay aware. What do you think about these stories? Ever had a summer adventure go sideways? Let us know in the comments. Your story might help someone else who's been through something similar. If you found these stories as chilling as we did, hit that like button. It helps us know what you want to see more of. And if you're not already, think about subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the scary and unexplained. We share true scary stories all the time, and you won't want to miss what's next. Got a true scary story of your own that needs to be told? We're always looking for real stories of terrifying experiences. If you want to share, email us at your email address here. Your story might even end up in a future video. Until next time, stay aware, stay safe. And remember, even when it's bright and sunny, it's smart to watch out for the shadows.